there, and welcome back to another Percy Jackson review. And today we're going to be talking about episode 4, I Plunged to My Death, which follows up with our heroes on their adventure having slain Medusa, and as they make their way further towards Los Angeles and the underworld, where they need to confront Hades to get back Zeus's Master Bolt and rescue Sally Jackson. And yes, potential spoilers inbound, so be warned. Okay, so we start off with a bit of a flashback to Percy's youth, where he and his mum are at a swimming class with Percy learning how to swim for the first time. And Percy's scared. He simply doesn't want to do it and is refusing to let go of the wall and go out into the open water. And his mum's getting steadily more frustrated as he needs to be able to swim, just for life in general, but also because he's a sea demigod. Kind of a mandatory thing. Gotta say, the change in Sally's portrayal from book to screen, it feels so severe. Book Sally does not feel like the same character that we see here on screen. Like, I guess, at times it feels like a bit of a different character. Although at the same time, I can understand them wanting to give Sally more depth than she has in the book, especially the first book, where she's pretty much just the classic self-sacrificing battered woman until the very last second where she murders Gabe off screen. So yeah, I get why it's like this. I'm just unsure about how I feel about it. Also, I really enjoyed the final lines where Percy tells his mum to breathe and calm down, because it kind of mirrors what Poseidon's messenger tells him later to do to breathe the water. And I guess it might be something that Poseidon himself taught Sally as well, and thus she taught Percy? Maybe? I'm not sure, but I think it might be connected in that way. Suddenly, little Percy has one of those Chronos spirit dreams, and I just noticed this at long last, but I like that they're always set in the desert, a place devoid of any water, of any moisture, and thus it's a place where Percy is at his weakest against mythical creatures and gods, etc. I thought that was pretty clever. It kind of feels like a little bit of an implicit threat there. But also I like that at this stage of the game, whilst he is giving him spooky dreams, Grandpa Chronos is still looking out for his well-being and warning him about Echidna coming after him. After all, a forbidden child is powerful, and thus would be a really good servant. Doesn't want him dying just yet. And I mean, from Chronos' perspective, he probably has a good chance of convincing him too, because it's not like the gods do themselves any favours. No wonder Luke went evil. Some of the stuff that we're seeing in the show is just, it's way worse than I remember it being in the book, or at the very least, it hits differently when you see it rather than read it. It feels more real, more awful. But anyway, he wakes up from his dream, and we find that they're all sleeping in an overnight train, which made me raise my eyebrows just a little bit, and I had to head over to Google Maps. And my God, it takes like 20 hours to travel from Australia to Los Angeles by plane. And that's a big distance. You have to go over the Pacific Ocean. But it takes about the same amount of time, or even longer, to travel from Trenton, New Jersey, which was the last named place that was referenced around Medusa's shop, to St. Louis, Missouri. My God. And that doesn't even get them halfway to LA. These poor kids. The true villain here is the public transport system, it seems. And also, I doubt very much that $200 is going to be enough money to pay for the taxis, the buses, train tickets, food, but whatever. Anyway, Percy then asks about Thalia, and we get a little picture painted of a tough kid who gave no shits and took no shit. And I gotta say, we're seeing a huge amount of build up for this character. Gonna be a lot of pressure on the person that they pick to play her, I tell you what. She gets a mention pretty much every single episode, to the point that her character's sort of developing this legendary status. And you'll get to the point where it's hard to live up to that hype from both the casting and the writing. So yeah, good luck there. Percy then rightly points out to Annabeth that the gods kinda suck, and boy do they ever suck. And so, in response, because Annabeth is currently still a big old fangirl for her mum, she tries to show him that even normal human parents can suck, as she recounts how her dad and stepmom made her feel unwelcome in their own home, made her feel like an outsider, a problem, and replaced by her half-brothers, which led to her running away and ending up at Camp Half-Blood permanently. Damn. So yeah, she has it pretty bad. And in the books, I did feel like it was one of the weirder developments that Annabeth suddenly reconciled with her family after all that time, and since it pretty much happened off screen or off page as far as I remember, you're just kind of forced to accept it and think, oh, okay. So hopefully, if they do go that route, it feels more earned, or maybe just don't even have them reconcile. Whatever they want to do, I'll support it as long as it feels right and it makes sense in the story. And that's really my perspective on most changes. As long as it makes sense and it works in the context of the show, they can go any direction they want. The group then go up to go and have breakfast, whilst Echidna breaks into their train compartment, and once again, Grover shows off that he's really not cut out to be a demigod guide. The dude has made no plans for how they're going to navigate Los Angeles when they arrive, and seems to be taking things as they come, which is not inspiring great confidence in me with these thoughts. Also, you'd think that Annabeth, of all people, who's apparently a grand strategist according to Luke, would have made up some plans of her own. But nope, she hasn't. Ugh. But anyway, in this scene, we also get a fair bit of exposition setting up some plot points for the future. Some of them many seasons away, e.g. the fate of Pan, the god of the wild, and where he's been for the last few thousand years. And this is a plot point that doesn't pay off for a very long time. And in the same sequence, we also get told that fate and prophecy is pretty much a bunch of bullshit, and it's impossible to predict. Which, well, yeah, they're kind of right on that score, given how the prophecy pans out in this season, where pretty much every line subverts the narrative. There's lots of twists and intentional misdirects by the storyline itself. Our trio then get confronted by the police and questioned about the state of their compartment, given that it's been completely and utterly ravaged, which leads to the introduction of Echidna. And she starts off seeming, maybe a little bit like a Karen. You know that stage of being a Karen where they haven't actually gotten angry yet, but they seem like they're about to explode? That was her. And this morphs into her being a concerned maternal type of figure, which in turn leads to her going mask-off psychopath, telling them she's going to let one of her children kill them. Honestly, this was a really good performance by this actress in my opinion. I thought she did a great job in really getting the different aspects of her personality down, but especially the shift points. There's this one moment where Echidna realizes that Grover's figured out who she is, and her face shifts so quickly, from kindly to almost annoyed at his interruptions, then to this cold and calculating, dead-eyed stare. Really well done. And then there's also the way she talks to the Chimera, and the way in which it contrasts with how she speaks to the heroes. Really top-tier stuff. The whole sequence was great, really creepy, and sets the tone of the episode really nicely. It upped the stakes, and it upped the sense of danger. I really love the horror vibes we've been getting as they fight the different monsters in the show. We saw it with the Minotaur and the chase at night through the rain, we saw it again with Medusa through the maze of dead statues, and then we see it again here with this long chase. But the only problem is, these fights always seem to be an anticlimax. I was very whelmed by the Minotaur fight, and Medusa died so quickly after this humongous, intense psychological build-up. So they kind of needed to do this a bit better, and this gave them the chance to rectify those problems. But we'll come back to that when we get there. Anyway, she gives off a pretty generic villain monologue about how demigods are the true monsters, whatever. Lots of delusion, lots of crazy talk here. But whilst it was a bit generic, still the whole speech was very dark, very insidious, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then the beast attacks and hits Percy with the stinger before Annabeth stabs it and they escape. The cops then follow them, and to normal people, the Chimera looks like a little chihuahua because of the mist, and then we see those two cops probably get totally eaten by the Chimera, right? Damn, bad luck to them. Surely it had to kill them, right? Because the police officers actually turned and saw the door smash. And if you saw a chihuahua break down a door like that, would you go about your business? No, these are American cops. Gonna get my gun. And so yeah, they're dead. No chance. So they make their way to the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, where Annabeth says they're gonna be safe, as it's blessed by Athena and is a haven for demigods. Grover gets a little bit mad about how the shrine seems to glorify the killing of native animals and the settling of the western frontier by colonial powers, and so after a little bit of a verbal clash with Annabeth, off he goes for now. And so here we get our first major Percy and Annabeth moment where they're more than just teammates who don't get along, but actually take a lot of steps towards becoming genuine friends. We delve deeper into their perspectives on their parents and how they interact with them, and how Annabeth truly believes that her mother cares about her and loves her unconditionally, whereas Percy is currently the president of the Poseidon is a deadbeat club. I'm honestly on that club too. Team Percy, here we go. The gods suck. And hey, what do you know, Percy's dying now because, well, ignoring mysterious stings from a monster is a bad idea. Who knew? And now he has chimera venom flowing through his body, and he's had that going for quite a while. And I gotta say, I admire how the writing instantly managed to turn a pretty dire situation, Percy being on death's door, into extreme comic relief, as they assume that water will help him, being Poseidon's son and all, and so they dunk him in the fountain and splash him with water over and over and over, whilst people look on at the weirdos playing in the fountain. And of course it doesn't work because that would be too easy, and their plight is made worse by the fact that Echidna and the Chimera turn up. And what do you know? Mentally, they tell Annabeth that her impertinence has wounded her mother's pride, and so Athena's let them into the sanctuary to kill Percy, to kill Grover, and to kill Annabeth. My god, what a lovely mother! How is it at all reasonable for you to think, oh, my teenage daughter who I rarely speak to sassed me with a kind of funny gift? Better let this serial killer who likes killing people like her have access to her and her friends. Seriously, if they don't rewrite this whole storyline to have Annabeth fully renounce her mother, then what are we actually all doing here? Every episode makes Athena seem like absolute garbage. Like in the books, I always felt like it was definitely Zeus and Hera that were the undisputed worst gods, but Athena's really making a play at the top spot right now. At least Poseidon gets some moments to shine later on in the episode. Athena just sucks. She pure sucks. Ugh. They then get to the top of the arch, and Annabeth is fully ready to sacrifice her life to buy Grover and Percy some time. Would Athena have actually intervened in this moment if she was about to get eaten? Probably not. I don't see how she could. It'd be too late by that point. Chimera's in the sanctuary. It's too late. And it's not like Athena can just toss down a lightning bolt to save the day. But of course, Percy tricks Annabeth and tries to sacrifice himself instead. And honestly, this is some massive Chad energy from Percy here. This episode's really tied the three of them together as a cohesive unit, and it's made me care about them as a team, rather than mostly just caring about Percy. So this whole noble sacrifice thing he tries to do, I found it very touching. Well acted as well, I thought. Although, I gotta say, the kids, especially this episode, have been really good. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but still. And then he faces off with the Chimera, and I know it's evil, but I need to boop that nose so bad. Look at his face. Cutie. Great CGI for the monster too. And the fight itself, nothing to write home about. He got whooped and tossed off the building. Good. The story needs stakes, and he needed to be shown that he is beatable. He needed to be shown that Percy can't use tricks on every monster. Sometimes they just have to fight straight up, and he isn't on the Chimera's level as of right now. So he got whooped. It's kind of like in the Chamber of Secrets when Harry Potter fights the Basilisk, but this time, Harry has no plot armor to save his ass, and so it kills him. He just gets utterly destroyed. But of course, Poseidon reaches out and saves him at the last moment. See, Athena? You see, this is parenting. This is what you're supposed to do. He's raising the bar right now. I mean, granted, the godly parenting bar was literally in hell, and he did the absolute bare minimum involved in being a father. Don't let them splat onto the pavement, but hey, baby steps. Dude still has issues though. The whole Medusa storyline, very sus, because she was right about Athena and how her and Annabeth were the same person. That they'd both disappoint Athena, and Athena would punish them for it. Punish them way too harshly as well. So when does Poseidon show off his monster side to Percy, Guess we'll have to wait and see. And then they end the episode with Poseidon's messenger helping Percy learn to breathe underwater and try to say that, oh, actually, I've always been here watching the whole time. So? That is definitely not what Percy meant.
Always watching.
Whew, she's nuts.
And thus, all of his gripes about Poseidon's deadbeat parenting are still very valid. Poseidon, to me, currently has big-time Disney dad vibes, if you get me. Absent his whole life, arrives, give him a bunch of help and cool stuff to make him seem awesome, and then leave again, let mum do the rest of the work. Nah. Don't buy in, Percy. Don't buy in. And so yeah, that's where we end things. The end of the episode. It's a really good one. And an episode that, when it ended, made me kind of angry for it not being longer. And I think that's the mark of a successful and good show, that it always leaves you wanting more. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? You like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.